Hey everybody, this is Tony.
And this is Paul, and we're coming at you from the Friends for Life podcast, where we discuss the ongoing lives and issues of people with developmental disabilities to spark positive change in the field.
And we have a lot of fun doing it.
Hey everybody, welcome back to the Friends for Life podcast. Thanks for tuning back in. We got another wonderful episode for you today, and Tony and I are talking about a topic that is near and dear to our hearts: responsibility, or something like that. So Tony and I have been kind of chatting and discussing what we're going to talk about today, and one of the themes that kept coming up is responsibility, and kind of just like how the more responsible you are, the more, what's the word I'm looking for here, Tony? Like the more, the better you get at what you do, the more you kind of get more responsibility. You'd think it'd be the opposite, right?
Yeah, and that's exactly it. The more that you do actually brings in more responsibility. And it was funny because it came from the discussion we were having, just like when you naturally are well at something, what we have been doing, we have been given more tasks from it, because people are like, oh man, you're good at this. How about this? And especially when you're like really into helping people, you know, it's almost hard to say no.
Yeah.
And sometimes you have to. But I saw how it correlated with DSPs, because if you're going around and you are a DSP you're going above and beyond for the supervisor. You know, you're picking up the shifts when nobody else wants to. You're picking up in places that no one else wants to. But then with such shortage of staff, the supervisors are even doing that. So now you're doing a little more work, maybe even doing grocery shopping when you didn't typically do it, or medical appointments when you didn't typically do it, or you're doing more paperwork reviews before you send it into the office, or whatever system that you need. So it's this source of, I guess, ambition that most people have that eventually turns into more work. And I think that has really screwed up a lot of people, because in some aspects you're getting it and you're like, man, cool, this is good. They're noticing me, how important I am. And I heard a cool saying the other day, value brings value unless the person who brings value, they will devalue. Now, if you follow along with that, if you're a valuable person and any asset, when you come somewhere, your values will bring more value to that place. But if you don't have the same amount of value that entity or that person or like relationships, all of that, you will eventually devalue that person. I mean, how many times have we been friends with people and you see that they don't have the same work ethic or the same responsibilities, and all of a sudden your value becomes depreciated. You know, that one night staying up a little bit later when you know you should have got rest for that project in the morning, or that day that you called off work to actually go and just have a little fun versus, well, you already had picked up this shift. You already told the individual that you will be there, and now you're just letting people down. So I think it all correlates.
Yeah, and it's a tough road, I guess, because I feel like it boils down to, like, if you as a person are incredibly driven and you kind of are one of those, like, I will never take no for an answer kind of things, you know, you end up bearing this load of responsibility almost unwillingly, I guess. Yeah. I mean, it just kind of happens, and I think that's where a lot of the times those kind of people come off as almost grouchy or like, because they're always having to say no. And you know, it puts the people that are like that in a weird position, because there's not enough physical time to say yes to everything.
Yeah.
And it's, you know, as much as I would like to, but it's weird how it works both ways, because you get people, even with what we do with our show and everything, you get people who we reach out to who are that busy and they say no. And on the opposite side, you're like, dang it, this sucks.
Yeah.
So it is a hard thing. But yeah, like back to our main topic at hand, I think it is, career aside, DSP or working in the disability field or not, I mean, it's really a a strange way that things turn out, because like in everybody's mind who doesn't run their own whatever, you know, if you're just working as an employee somewhere and you don't have any ambition to be a business owner or anything like that, it's really weird because like as someone who runs their own businesses and things like that, you included, me included, lots of other people we've had on the show, you just get this overwhelming questions of people wanting you to help or do more all of the time.
Yeah. And it even goes to their personal lives and stuff. I've had the scenario in which people are asking me to help them create more worth in their company, per se. And it's not like I wanted to ever push anyone away and say, no, I can't help you. But the realism behind it is I don't have the time to sit back. I mean, you've seen me get burnt on just trying to help people, and I'm sitting around. I could have scheduled 2-3 other things to do, and I'm sitting and wait for somebody. They're either late or they're not showing or trying to reschedule, and the frustration comes in when I know what I could have potentially did with that time. I would rather spend that time doing something a little more uncomfortable to put Friends for Life or even the podcast in a better light or in a better area than just sit here twiddling my thumbs trying to help someone else. But I don't know. I guess one of the questions I would ask is, do you think that that's how primarily people are made? Do you think like certain people are just born a little more ambitious and you know cut the shit more than others?
I think I do think it has a lot to do with how your brain's wired. Because when I operate in my day to day, and I'm not saying that I'm any more ambitious or less ambitious than anybody else, but Tony and I talk about this quite often too, is like the way I operate on a daily basis is like I'm a hit the ground running kind of guy, and there's no off switch until whatever, like time to go to bed. And that's not a badge of honor. Honestly, it sucks because I'm always feeling compelled to work more, even when it's not necessary. You know what I mean? Like sometimes you're just working to keep yourself busy, and I don't know if that's a good or a bad thing, but it's like I always am getting comments of like, I can't believe how much you do comparatively to like for me, I get no sense of enjoyment at the end of a day to watch TV. You know what I mean? Like I don't, and that's not to say, I know you love movies and you love television. That's not to say that I think that's dumb or a bad thing. It's just for me, I get fidgety when I sit down at the end of the day and I watch a TV show. Like I watched Seinfeld last night. I watched 2 episodes. And I was like, oh, this is pretty funny because they just put it on Netflix. And I'm like, oh, cool. I haven't seen this since I was a kid. And then at 2 episodes in, I was like, all right, I'm bored. I gotta do something.
Gotta move.
I can't sit here.
Well, even if we go back into a lot of our guests have been that way, you know, and it's not so much, I think it's more of a learning curve. Me, I'm a visual learner more than I am so much, a text person, but I'm in actions. Like if I physically or visually see somebody doing something, I can kind of mimic that, and then it's audio for me. And then after audio, maybe some things through text. If I had to learn everything just through text, I would be in a very screwed up situation.
Yeah, I feel like I'm the same way. I am a very audio learner, I guess. Is that what are those stupid tests you take in high school that tell you how you learn best?
Oh yeah, it's not a proficiency test, but I know what you're talking about.
Yeah,
though.
You guys know what we're talking about.
Yeah.
You like do like 5 different things, and then they're like, "Oh, this is gonna just screw your brain up for the rest of your life." Yeah. So I've always scored very high on audio, and that's why probably I ended up with this job here with you, Tony, because audio and visual learning is my strong suit, and then like you said. Text is I think it's just ADHD. I don't know what it is. I cannot focus on reading, and I've gotten so much crap over the years. You know, people always try and devalue what you do because it's not the way they do it.
They do it, yes.
So like one year I set out to read 100 books in a year, and the majority of those were audiobooks. And I have so many people are like, that doesn't count. And I was like, well, I sure learned a hell of a lot more than reading or listening to 0 books.
But yes.
So I don't really agree with you. But yeah, that's people are always trying to devalue everything you do. And that kind of, this all sums up into the same talking point we brought up to begin with. I mean, when you have this like innate drive, you attract people who want help. And I don't think it's a bad thing. I always try and help. And a situation that I've gotten into recently that is really starting, it's not a, I have to preface this because it's going to sound crappy the way I say it, but I don't have any other way to put it. It's like I get probably between my podcast and your podcast, I would say, which is not a ton, probably 3 people a week reaching out to me, asking me the same exact question, wanting to sit down with me and discuss how we do this. And I love talking about microphones. I love talking about cameras. I love talking about audio equipment and the hosting side of it. I don't know where that came from. It's just kind of bite the bullet kind of thing, I guess. Yeah. But I get so many questions. And I know this sounds like BS. It really does. Like, I'm not a famous person of any standing. It's just I literally, the most asked question I get, at least at a minimum of once a week, is what equipment are you using? How do we start a podcast? And after you answer that question 50 times, at what point do I start to say, you're going to have to hire me as a consultant? Because this is like, I don't have time to, I even have pre-made spreadsheet because I've answered it so many times.
And that's actually it. Right now, right here, everyone is seeing actually how business is created in a sense. You are showing your worth. And right now you're saying 1 to 3 people ask you this every week. So in multiplying your value, once that number doubles, you know that your want and need to actually help in a scenario has doubled. So that is essentially what you will be getting paid for.
Well, the problem is nobody wants to pay for that. They just want me to give it away to them for free, which I don't have a problem doing because, I mean, you pay me well enough to live and do well with what we're doing here. So I don't have any complaints. Like, I don't know my other friends or anybody that get paid to do this. So it's like an awesome thing for me. And I love helping people with that. But at some point, it's like, I don't have the time to answer every individual. I mean, right now it's manageable. 3 people a week isn't anything. I can answer.
But it's funny because again, this is coming full circle. This is what DSPs actually go through. If you are a DSP and you're now on the top notch in your company, everyone's coming to you. Well, hey, Sarah, Sue, Sam, how do you guys get this done? How do you do this? How is Timmy over here not giving you problems that he or she was normally giving me? And what DSPs need to realize, that's your value increasing. Now, exactly like you just said, you don't want to all of a sudden just go straight, oh, now I need a dollar amount. You continue that craft. You continue trying to educate yourself in what are the going rates for consultants in doing this? Or, what special skill do I have that's different? Now, because for some people, it's easy to get a hold of you. Right now, because we're not that busy in it, you have a little more free time.
Debatable.
Yeah, that's extremely debatable because I haven't seen this man work. But it's like it always, I think, really falls back to the passion and, people's motivation. Motivation is very, very tricky. I wonder how much people truly are motivated internally versus externally.
Well, I think the thing that bothers me the most of it is I literally don't mind helping. If anybody has those questions, ask me. I'll answer them, and I'll give you the answers you want. Mm-hmm. But
no, not necessarily. You're going to give them the answers in which the facts are.
Well, I don't mean I'm going to tell you what you want to hear. I mean I'll give you the answer to what you're asking me.
Okay,
that's what I meant to say. Sorry, that was that didn't sound right. But the problem I have is I would say 99% of the time, they never follow through and do the podcast or the video. And that's what bothers me. Because essentially, it's like I went through all this work to help you, and then you didn't do anything with it. And it's like, well, I mean, when you help someone, you're supposed to help without expectation. That's like that's what help is essentially.
Right.
But it still does make you feel like crap when you're like, oh, cool. I'm so excited for you because I love doing this too. And it's a great asset to your business. It makes you, you can put your voice out there. You can put what your business is about out there. You can talk about stuff like what we're talking about. You can do whatever you want. It's your own show essentially. And I get so hyped because I know I love doing it, you love doing it, and I want other people to experience that.
Right.
But then they don't do it. And it's like, I just gave you literally, I've been going on like 12 years doing this. I just given you my entire life's of hard-learned knowledge and then you don't do anything. So, I mean, I can imagine you feel the same way a lot, even in this field, working with. Like,
dude, it's just like what you're saying, and this is my dilemma. I visualized where I am way before I did anything in remote chance of owning a company. I visualized it the most. And then I constructed it backwards. I looked as if I was already at the mountaintop. How did I get up there? What exactly did I do to transfer that mindset and that wealth and that the opportunity? And so much of it was exactly what the sign says behind us. In order to become the 1%, you must do what the 99% of others don't. And that is a sad reality. Like, can you imagine out of 100 people you talk to, only one person taking your advice? Like, I'm already frustrated after I'm done talking to the 25th person. Like, wow, nothing. And again, not like you said, it's not like we're superior or anything, but we have went through an avenue that kind of has shown success.
Well, I almost feel the opposite of feeling superior, because you get to a point where you've done this for so long, and where we sit right now, even though our viewership's starting to grow, even though our podcast numbers are starting to grow, even within a year's time span, I mean, our numbers are going up like more than I expected currently. Yeah. and but that's the new normal. I don't feel any different than our first podcast internally. Like, you put our first podcast up and probably nobody watched it. I would guarantee. I would bet today probably 5 people have watched it. Yeah. But like, you go back to that, but we're sitting in the same room. It's literally not even remotely close to how it looked. We have 10 billion times better equipment, but it feels exactly the same. It feels like we're still in that hot seat on day one, and that, like, this is our new normal. So, like, it's weird because you look back and you're like, oh my God, how have we come this far? But when we're here now, it just feels like that was yesterday and nothing's changed. So it is weird, like. And it's, how do you present that in a way without being egotistical or whatever and trying to look like a jerk? It's hard because people do have opinions. Just people don't get along sometimes. That's how it is.
Man, and it sounds like this podcast right now, we're kind of talking to people. We want all of you to understand you can make the steps to change your life to a whole nother level. It doesn't have to be you sit, and this is not even beneficial to me in a sense, because I do know that some people are just come to Friends for Life for a season, and that's understandable. Come, learn, educate yourselves, and grow. Now, do we want people to come and stay long term and grow with us? Yes, definitely. But not everyone can handle the direction that we're going. I'm not a very big person for excuses, as we talked about many a times. My big thing is, if you have something that takes 5 steps, just do at least 2 of them. Take care of 2 of the steps. Don't see 5 steps and be like, and psych yourself out before you even start the first one.
Yep.
And there's so many ways, because I even feel this way about the clients that we serve. I don't want our clients having specific plans put together so they can grow and they can accomplish more, but then they're giving up on the very first go around or even the second go around. Like, come on, let's do this together. And in order for us to show more people, we need to do it ourselves.
Well, and that's just, I mean, that goes back, I mean, to the cliche saying 1% better every day. I mean, this podcast is proof of that. If you go back to our first episode and take it would be over 50 hours of video to watch or listen to audio.
Yeah.
I mean, I would argue that we have gotten 1% better every podcast.
Yes,
whether
definitely.
it looks better, whether it sounds better, whether our talking well, I don't know about that. That part of it's a little shaky. But yeah, it all boils down in the end to what we started with, responsibility. I mean, if you're willing... There are days where we come in here and we don't want to do a podcast, but we do it. You have to be responsible,
Definitely.
have that personal responsibility to just do it. And then it ends up being awesome. Every time we do it, it ends up being like, oh, I'm glad we did that.
Mm-hmm.
You just have to have that foresight and that knowledge of the past to be able to get to that point where you just have to work through that first 5 minutes where you don't want to be somewhere or do something. It's the same thing when I start editing the podcast. The first 10 minutes, I'm like, oh, God, here goes the day. Yeah. This is how it is, So
editing.
But then, like, back to our main point, the better you get at something, the better you become, the more goes on your plate. And I always thought, prior to starting my own business, prior to starting working with you as well, I always thought it was the opposite. I thought the better you got, the more you could push stuff onto other people who work with you. Yeah. And it's the exact opposite.
Yeah.
It is literally the exact opposite.
You have to look at those avenues that you even send people down. Like, for one, I treat my people as if it's the last day I'm going to see them, because I'm sending people out and they may grow from this. They may, quote unquote, die from this. Mm-hmm. Like, there's so many folks who have went down an avenue in hopes to find their perfect job or their perfect opportunity, and it doesn't work out the way that they thought it was. And then they're like, hey, Tony, can I come back? And it's like, yeah, you did it. You did such and such properly. I can respect that. I can understand. But I don't know. I guess if I had to give a end statement to that, again, because we kind of put a lot in a small bit, but just move the needle every day. Yep. Create something new every single day that gets you into that level of where you want to be. So I'm mainly talking to DSPs today, because that's where I see a lot of the motivation dying out, a lot of the self-esteem. I heard that somebody didn't really care for me who works in the company, and it's like, I can't be mad at it because this person doesn't really know me. But then I ask myself, okay, Tony, have you really shown this person who you are? And I thought that I have by the things that I give, the way I hold myself, the way I've perceived what they were expecting from a company and from me. Do I want everyone to like me? I can't say yes or no to that.
Well, that's impossible.
Yeah. And so I have to go back and be like, everybody's not going to like me. But did I do the moral thing and that's in my compass? Did I take care of this person this way? Did I offer an opportunity this way? And if I can check off all those boxes that I did the moral spot for me, hey, screw if you like me or not.
I mean, that's a hard pill to swallow, is realizing that not everybody's going to like you.
Yeah.
Not everybody is going to get along with you, and that's just human nature. And it's not hard. It's not easy to do. It's not an easy pill to swallow, because someone can literally hate you just because. They don't have to have a reason. They just, there can be no rhyme or reason as to why. They can just literally hate you for nothing. And that's a hard thing to deal with, but I mean, that's going to work anywhere. I've worked for employers where I just did not get along with them. It was nothing to do personally. It's just like their expectations and mine did not align. And it was actually the opposite of the problem I have here. Whereas I'm like super driven and I'm always throwing ideas at you and you're like, yeah, let's do it. That sounds sweet. The other place I was like, we could grow, we could go, we can make a media, we could do this whole media department. And they're like, that's the dumbest thing I've ever heard. So it's literally polar opposites. Like one person told me that what we're doing right now, as we're sitting here, is stupid and a waste of time. And then literally within a month of that, you were like, I'm looking for somebody to start this. And I was like, I know how to do that. And we're here now. And it's like, so yeah, it's weird how life takes you. Cause at that time I felt like crap. I was like, am I an idiot? Like
far from it, my guy.
I was seeing growth on my end from I was doing at home by myself with my podcast. I was like, I'm seeing like exponential growth and I'm not working that hard at it. I was like, this is an asset to your business. And I was going to just do it.
Just to prove your value.
Just to do it at the job and make it more visible. And I was told, no, it was a waste of time. I was like, I already have the equipment. You don't even have to invest any money. I just need like an extra 2 to 3 hours a week to do this. And they're like, no, this is dumb.
Yeah,
It's
saying
wild.
Saying no too often, people can be detrimental to your company. You got to try stuff. If you
Was it going to cost you like an extra $100 a week? It's not like I was making a ton of money at the time, but
it's like getting what you can get, and where you can get it at is the name of the game at this point. But yeah, man, I think that if we double down on what a lot of people do for motivation, they look at the people that doubted them. I know that I did for myself, and not so much in a religious way. It's not like I'm going to the mirror and say, you know what, that guy in 5th grade, he didn't think you were going to be anything in life and you're going to have to show him better. But it's more as like, okay, no one thought that Friends for Life would be a company that could really change the space of care and individualism and even hitting the marks of doing a podcast. And I just feel like that is a very comfortable and awesome thing. But this is, again, like I said before, this is more for the DSPs. This is more for the middle management, even upper management, because I know a lot of you guys are going through a lot too. You're working your tails off. You're putting in a lot of extra time. The people who are truly behind you are the ones noticing that. No company is going to get by right now without our DSPs, without our nursing care, our just everything right now, people, is tough. So we got to keep that motivation inside of us. We got to keep that motivation for the rest of the community who's suffering with us, in a sense. Just keep it alive.
Yeah, and I think that is a good place to kind of wrap it up for today. I mean, I know it wasn't ultra hyper focused on disabilities, but that's been kind of something that Tony and I have been dealing with. And if that's the case, that means a lot of other people are probably dealing with it as well. So we wanted to kind of just get our thoughts on that out there and let people kind of know how we're handling it and what responsibility means to us. And, if you guys can, please help us out. Go down below, hit that subscribe button. We really can get we need all the help we can get out here. Our views on our videos have actually been going up, which is really cool. That means people are actually starting to watch this now. So that's exciting for us as well. And Tony, you got any closing words?
Stay great out here, people. There is so many opportunities for growth, and not only as a DSP, but as a healthcare provider of sorts. I want to see more people taking the independent route and making the extra dollars that you can. If you are strong will, strong mind, go ahead and get that done. I'm guaranteeing you'll be able to find some help out here. So other than that, stay great.